Hey everyone, it's Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here with the fourth installment in my Dickens project, and that is for The Old Curiosity Shop by Charles Dickens. So this edition that I read is based on the original 1841 text. I know he has an 1848 edition and I don't remember, or I'm not quite sure why there was a difference, but I'm going to base my review based on this edition, based on the 1841 text. So this is definitely a Victorian melodrama, but it's definitely so much more than that. So in this book we follow little Nell Trent, and she lives in this old curiosity shop with her ailing grandfather, and it's kind of a gloomy, dark, kind of depressing environment, but they both really love each other and have a great relationship. Her grandfather has some problems with gambling and gambling addiction. So when they're unable to pay their debts to Daniel Quilp, who is by far one of the most lecherous, villainous people I've ever read in a Dickens novel, much less a novel period. Thank you, Butch. He takes control of the shop and they are forced to leave, and they're just basically thrown into kind of the underworld of England, and there's not really light at the end of the tunnel for Nell and her grandfather. We also follow a character, Kit, and he is a boy that is really good friends with Nell, and his storyline also kind of veers off and he starts working for this couple, and his story just is really kind of a lovely one and really just lovely to follow. We also follow this lawyer family, the Brasses, and there's something not quite right about them. They work for Mr. Quilp, so that's already a strike against them. And they also come in contact with the unfortunately named ne'er-do-well Dick Swiveller. And yes, that is his real name. We also meet the Marchioness, who is just such a fun, entertaining character. And honestly, a lot of the characters in this book, they're either very comedic or very grotesque or very lovely. It's kind of an extreme end of all the character spectrums. Dick Swiveller is really good friends with Nell's older brother Fred, and Fred and Dick come up with a scheme to allow Nell and Dick to get married because Fred thinks that his grandfather has a lot of money, which he does not. And Dick ends up working as a clerk for the Brass family, and that's how everything starts getting tied together in this book. I have mixed feelings about this book. So first of all, we open and it's from the third person perspective of someone who's just kind of just talking about what's going on and follows Nell and sees her relationship with her grandfather. And then after the first chapter, they just kind of go away and never come back. If they do, I totally missed it. So that was a little jarring at first, especially when you keep waiting for them to come back and they don't. Also, the Old Curiosity Shop isn't a main focus of the book, despite it being the title, which is not a horrible faux pas, but it wasn't what I was expecting. And also, the story of Nell and her grandfather wasn't my favorite, even though I really enjoyed their relationship. At times it was very saccharine, but through their relationship we did get to meet so many amazing characters that I'm not mad about it. They just were probably lower on my list as opposed to other characters. And I feel like I didn't really connect with the characters as much as I normally do, so I think that was really my main hindrance for this becoming an all-time favorite. Because when I talked about this book with other people, like I know Katie from Books and Things has read it multiple times, and other people, even if they haven't read it multiple times, they have such good memories of it, and it's one of their favorite Dickens books. And I just didn't really get that vibe from it, unfortunately. Maybe I will on reread. By no means was it a bad book. I thoroughly enjoyed my time reading it. It's just probably middle of the road Dickens for me. The best thing about this book are the characters and their interactions. So Quilp, I hate him with the fire of 1,000 suns. He is the worst. The worst. And I would read it and I'm like, okay, you're really awful. And then he would do something and then my hatred would go up. And he's very nauseating at times and lecherous and just, ugh. I hate him so much. He's so well written. I had such a visceral reaction to him. I hate him so much. And I also really enjoyed getting to meet the characters that Nell and her grandfather met along the way, and seeing those little moments in life. So I remember very vividly there was one scene and they were trying to get shelter from the cold outside, and they met this man, and I think it was like a workhouse type situation or something for impoverished people. And basically they're surrounding this little wood burning stove. And Nell's grandfather is asleep, and she just wakes up and sees this new friend just staring into the flames. And he's just saying how the flames are his friend, and they talk to him, and they're his source of comfort. And there's something about little moments like that just really stuck with me. And I think Dickens did a really good job of sprinkling those throughout this book. And that was a way for me to connect to the characters a little bit more. I also just really like the emotional journey that these characters go on. They are kind of in their own little world, and then they meet someone else who is in a worse situation than they are, and it kind of changes their worldview and their perspective, which I think is super important and something that we should all do. So I really, really did appreciate that. Another thing I did enjoy was the exploration of gambling and addiction and grief. I think, especially for a Victorian novel, I think he did such a good job of exploring it and delving into these issues and how they affect not only the person who has this addiction, but their loved ones around them. So, all that being said, the more I talk about this, I think the more I like it. It's still not a favorite, but I feel like it's one of those quieter novels, and it's definitely one that I think about from time to time. And I read this a couple months ago, and talking through it, a lot of it has really stuck with me. So I do highly recommend it. I think it's a good entry point into his novels, and this version is probably 550 pages. Not too bad. We get illustrations as well. So I definitely recommend it. I think it's a good Dickens novel. It's not my favorite. It's not the best, but it's a very sweet exploration into humanity and these characters. And his character work in this book was very, very well done. So have you read this book? If so, please let me know down below. If you'd like to leave an emoji, leave some kind of clock emoji down below. As always, if you'd like this video, make sure to click the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.